if you really soak into the art and you really, really pay attention to all the references and all the things that are inside of an artist's work, you can understand a lot about who they are. And I think with Lin, I had been listening to the Hamilton soundtrack for 6 months before I spoke to him directly. I had actually been approached about doing the Hamilton mixtape before Hamilton was even a thing. That the original title of Hamilton was the Hamilton Mixtape. And, you know, I got approached by Riggs Morales, you know, shout him out from Atlantic Records in the very early stages. And my man Saul Guy, who was Kanon's manager. And back then, you know, it was J.Period, can you take the cast recording of 10 Dual Commandments and put Biggie behind it? And I did that. That was my demo. No one's ever heard it. It's fly. But so I say all that to say that, you know, I went to see Hamilton the week after it opened, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like I went and saw it again. And I think that soaking into that art, I really, really started to understand how this guy's mind works. And so when I was called back to do this, it had blown up, you know, into this massive thing. Questlove literally called him up on FaceTime and was like, here, you talk to him, figure it out. And he handed me FaceTime with Lin-Manuel on the phone. And Lin was like, you know, have you seen the play? I was like, yes. He's like, how much do you know the songs? I was like, I've been listening to it nonstop for 6 months. He's like, all right, cool. So, you know, he just was really honest with me. And he's like, for the mixtape, you know, the record label wants to put, you know, most popular artist first, second most popular artist second, and do it like a label would do it. You know, his approach was more follow the storyline that he's created already. And the hardest part of my job was I had to bring that into my world, into mixtape world, and figure out how you bend and twist and shape the story so that it feels like vignettes. You know, it's like little bits of it that I've rearranged. And that's really how I would make my mixtapes. So, you know, I always say, like, what I did on the Hamilton mixtape, which was, you know, Billboard #1 album. I mean, you can, you know, it's right behind me. Was no different than anything I did on any of my other mixtapes. It was just putting myself in the mindset of, you know, of Lin based on his work. And I think that, you know, there's been a magical thing that's happened from paying really close attention to artists and telling their stories, where they even feel seen by these projects. So I think, you know, with Lin, I don't think he really knew who I was or what I did. But I can tell you that the night that I talked to him, we were in Electric Lady Studios, and the Roots are in the other studios working on their album Endgame, which is, you know, will come out hopefully this year. But basically, I put headphones on, and I spoke to him first, and he's like, all right, I'm going to send you the tracks, and I want you to listen and tell me how you would arrange them. And so I listened through everything, and I started making a list. And I was like, you know what? There's no way anybody's going to understand what I'm talking about. I have to show them. And so I literally sat in the corner of Electric Lady Studios for the next 10 hours from 4 p.m. until 4 a.m. And I made the mixtape right then. I made the mock-up of what it would be. And when I tell you that what I made that night is 95% of that stayed and became the finished product, it was really because I just sort of soaked into it, and I listened, you know, to what he had to say about what his vision was. But, you know, Lin is a hip hop head. So to be perfectly honest, by the time we got to me, it was like, oh, we're doing this? Okay, like, wow, we can make this into hip hop. Like, let's go. And that's what I did. So, you know, I think I stand in awe of Lin's ability to tell a story. I mean, I'd never seen anything like Hamilton. You'll probably never see anything like that ever again. But I felt a responsibility to rise to that level, to do that project and tell that story in a hip hop way. So, you know, one of the most incredible experiences I had, and it's created a relationship with him where now, like I said, like I've got him on the album, and man, oh man, when I tell you, I have Lin-Manuel and Joel Ortiz on a record that's basically paying tribute to Puerto Rico, and Bobito and Crazy Legs, Maida Del Valle in the mix, like in the intro. You know, they walk into the bodega and they hear a little song on the transistor radio. Oh, yo, turn that up. Record drops, and boom, Joel and Lin. So we got some special stuff coming. One thing that we've been doing in the lead up to the album is I've been going back and cherry picking all the records I produced from the mixtapes. And we've been going and actually, you know, running through proper channel to put those out on Spotify. So you'll see me popping up more and more on Spotify and Apple Music and Tidal, trying to kind of like introduce that audience to what I do ahead of the album. So yeah, I would definitely appreciate if you guys could, you know, pop some of those joints into the playlist. It's a series called The Best of J.Period that we just started putting out in December.